All right, welcome back to There Will Be Bourbon. I am joined tonight by retired Green Beret, Clay Martin. He is the author of two books now, at least, well, maybe more, but at least The Concrete Jungle, a Green Beret's Guide to Urban Survival, and then he just released Prairie Fire, which is about what?
That is basically a red county map to surviving a civil war that the blue counties start.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, a softer approach this time. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
kind of subtle it in there.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, we would hate for it to take that toll or that path, but I mean, so that's a good thing that you bring up. So why is it that you've decided to kind of venture into this? Like, were you always a writer? Did you always want to write, or is this just something that's just kind of, the current climate's kind of been the muse?
Yeah, actually, ironically, no. Like I never wanted to write, but after I retired from the army, it was kind of something I fell into because you got these skills of like I was a professional shooter at the time
Mhm.
too, shot competitively, and I was like, basically, I know how to chop people's heads off and shoot guns, and that's it. That's what I got. So I did the
Sounds a lot
usual,
like our enemy for the last 20 years.
right? Exactly right. So I did some of the usual stuff. I did some contracting and stuff,
Yeah.
and I taught people how to shoot. But that just really was like a lot of travel. It was not conducive to the fact that I had two little kids,
Right.
like
Yeah.
they were fresh born. So I had to do something else. So I started doing this gun review stuff,
Yeah.
and turned out that I just had like a knack for the writing piece of it. Like, I mean, I would say that my stuff's better than me. I was like, I can do it. I can knock it out. I can do it really fast. And so I'm cruising along with this like writing about guns every month thing, and I was like, I wonder how hard it is to write a book. And so I actually went and looked it up a word count of like how many words go in a book, and it's like between normal books like 60 to 80,000. I was like, I do that every 2 months. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I do that every month. I was like, I could do this. So I wrote my first fiction book back in 2016, 2017,
Okay.
and
Shameless plug. Go ahead, plug it.
yeah, that was Last Son of the War God.
Okay.
So that was my first fictional book. And it's one of those things like you don't know anything about like the process and stuff if you've never done it.
Right.
So I read like Stephen King's book about how to write a book, which is ironic. The dude writes like a gazillion books. He
Yeah.
used to be an English teacher actually. He wrote one like, "Hey, don't be an idiot. Here's all the like little. It's like it's like a book like this thick. It's like if you want to write a book, do it this way." And basically, his thing is don't use too many words and don't be lazy. Yeah.
That guy said, "Don't use that guy."
Yes.
Every book's like 1,000 pages.
But every one of his pages means something. There's no like 30 pages of filler. Like
Yeah, I got you.
the sky was bluish
read a lot.
blue with a rainbow. You're like, nah, nobody gives a shit. So, but his biggest thing to take away from that is if you want to write a book, you sit your ass down in a chair and you write the book. Like you don't draw outlines and think about it. And it takes 20 years to write the great American novel. It's like, get off your ass and do it. So that's what I did. I wrote every night from like 10 o'clock at night after the kids went to bed to like 4 in the morning. Some old army stuff. Like let's just soldier through this.
Yeah.
And it took like a month, which so I'm like, okay, book's done. And I guess that's actually abnormal because I tell people that and they're like, what? Like there's no way. But yeah, it takes about a month, and you write the damn thing and send it out to an editor, and they take all your scribbles and throw away the words they don't need, and then there you go, you got a book.
Well, there you go. All right. So I am off to a horrible start in using my own outlines that I do with this show, right? So the first things first, Clay, I got to talk about what I am drinking that is going to fuel this interview. And tonight, we got a little Rock Hill Farms from, as you know, that, well, you may not know, but whoever's listening may know by now, the greatest distillery ever, which is Buffalo Trace. Unfortunately, this is a product of the market, which is what I wanted to ask you about as it relates to the gun market, because you know a hell of a lot more about guns than I do, and this is what I know. So Rock Hill Farms is probably a $50 to $55 bottle. It's what it should be. Okay, you should always trust the MSRP from the distillery, because that is definitely not what you will see this for. This is going for anywhere from $250 to $400 in the secondary market, because liquor stores know that you will pay for it. So stop doing that, right? But anyway, so Rock Hill Farms, great bottle. It's a part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. Only comes out very limited release, but because of what it is it's been jacked up to these exorbitant fees and whatever, but people do it because they know they'll buy it. So my question to you, Clay, is does this go on with gun manufacturers?
First of all, I'm a Buffalo Trace fan, so that hurts my heart a little bit that you haven't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Hey, if you want to come on by, the bar's open, man. We got overflow. We got the bland, whatever you need from Buffalo Trace. I got you.
Well, I am actually on a fake beer because I got the blood clot last year. I've done sober. I had to do 2020 sober. Like I've been able to drink this year, which is,
hey,
you're hurting me.
I'm impressed.
Right now. Yeah. It's ugly. Anyway, about the gun market, kind of. You will, I mean, this year, like the gun market is like nothing else. It's like dealing drugs, basically. Like you have it, you can sell it. It's like a dry spell forever. You can sell it for whatever.
Right.
Occasionally, yeah, you do see like limited runs that will really elevate the price of things. And you see that mostly from the foreign market. Like I'm a huge fan of Tika rifles. They're made in Finland. Okay. And they're not terribly expensive rifles. They're like, $600-800 for, a center fire hunting rifle, which is, actually pretty cheap. But they have a lot of problems importing them because there's so many ATF restrictions on weapons that are made outside of this country that, yeah, you'll sometimes see them going for double the price because there's none to be had.
Well, that's not really the issue, though. That's more of a regulation thing, right?
It is, absolutely is.
Yeah, so I'm talking about like this. I know for a fact. So you got to know people, unfortunately, or have good relationships with liquor store owners to get some of these types of products, right? So fortunately, I've, since I got into this kind of like you are into guns a few years back, man, like I wanted to really figure out where I could actually get this stuff because I was tired of going into stores and seeing a bottle of fucking Pappy Van Winkle, for example, right? The most I wouldn't say it's overrated. It's very good, but it is the most overhyped product you can get. Those range on the website from Buffalo Trace from $79 up to like $229 for the 23-year-old. Fine. I got that. I get it. I understand. I know exactly how it's made. I know how all that works. But for that to go for $2,000 to $5,000 on that market is absolutely stupid. But they only do it because people will buy it.
Yeah.
And so like this. I can go across the street right now. There's a store right across the street from me. I got it. It's in there for $250. I will not pay $250 for that.
No, I totally.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, are there gun stores that are just, price gouging and taking advantage of this that you know of, or is it just because it is what it is?
We have seen that. We didn't so much see it this time. We learned it back in Sandy Hook back in 2013 when the last crisis happened. And one that I don't mind dragging their name through the mud right now, cheaperthandirt.com.
Yeah. Got ammo from there 6 years ago.
Notorious shitbags about that. They like the next day they went up to like $70 a piece on an AR-15 magazine. I mean, they were gouging the shit out of people. Like,
so not cheaper than dirt.
No, they're the opposite of cheaper than dirt. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So, but they're really the only one, and this market is actually exceptionally weird. Another thing that most people don't understand, the margin on guns is almost nothing. I mean, for the dealer down the street that gets the gun in you go in and you buy that gun, he might make $50 on like a $900,000 gun. I mean, it's nothing. Because it's also a very competitive market. The manufacturers pretty much sell at this price to all the distributors, and it is what it is. So you don't see that much. You will occasionally see somebody gouging on prices a little bit. Usually if something's going to be absurdly priced, it's either there's not many of them or it's very old and they just don't make them, or there weren't that many to start with.
Well, what I guess you said, so I guess where people could gouge more would probably be ammunition at this point, right?
They could right now, yes. And that's really hard to say. COVID has really screwed some things up as far as like supply line goes for like lead, copper, all your like raw materials and stuff. So it actually has driven the price up. Also talking to some people that are like in the middle of that chain, like distributors that are friends of mine, they said that like, raw cost coming out of the factory has actually gone up this time too. So what you're seeing right now is not as much gouging as it is like that's just the price things are now, and it may be that way for a very long time.
Yeah, so that was weird. So back in, I think it was beginning of September. Yeah, I went up to across the border into Reno for a bachelor party with a buddy, and we went up into the mountains later on and to shoot some guns that you can't shoot here, right? So, but we stopped at one of these. God, I already forgot the fucking name of it. Sheets, I don't know, some big
Shields.
Yeah, Shields. Okay.
Yeah.
We went in there to get ammo. There was nothing. There was one like case of, I think, 1,000 rounds of 7.62 on the entire shelves. Like literally everything was gone. No 40, no 9, no shotgun, nothing. Like there's nothing there in a store that massive. I was just like, this is Nevada, which I know everyone in California is just going across the border to get it because they can't. But still, that's like what kind of woke me up, because I already told you my backstory with my personal stuff at the moment. But
right.
yeah, so I was just like, that's what the first time I think into 2020 where it really hit me, like, man. And then at the time I was reading your book, so I was really starting to kind of
need some
guess
stuff.
I got to go train some Krav Maga or something. But yeah, so do you anticipate that? You said it could be this way for years, but
I mean, we're really anticipating that on the industry side, because I'll also tell you, like Idaho, I mean, we have a lot of guns and a lot of ammunition here. In fact, two of the four places in the United States that make primers are in northern Idaho,
really?
As well as like 3 of the top, I'd say 10 ammunition manufacturers. But we started seeing shelves run dry back in like May. But basically, the problem is you got to go all the way back past the riots and all that scary stuff back to the bat cough. So, oh my God, zombies are going to rise, all this other bullshit. Yeah. Well, people started freaking out, and people that never would have considered buying a gun in their life started going to the store and buying guns.
Yep.
And like, it's just like a wake up call. Like all these knuckleheads that were like, oh, everything will be fine. They got out of bed like, oh, sky's falling. So they went and started buying up all the guns. Well, you also have to figure that manufacturers can't just catch up, because they all did this back in 2013 during that crisis too. A lot of places hired like a third shift. They started buying like, CNC machines that are a couple $1 million. What happens after this peak is everything goes, and there's no sales for like 3 years. So they're not going to just invest, $20 million in new machinery. So you've got all these people that have never owned a gun in their life that have no idea what the hell they're doing with it. So they have to feed it as much as they possibly can and just learn some basic competency. The figures I've seen were something like between 25 and 50 million first-time gun owners this year. Yeah, it's staggering.
This year.
Yeah.
First time.
People who've never had a gun in their life went to the store and bought one.
That's more people that have this fucking virus for that bat cough.
Yeah, right. Damn right. Let's take it. I've seen this broken down in a video. Some dude did a real good job of it, but I'll kind of paraphrase here. Let's extrapolate that to everybody wants 1,000 rounds, which is not very much. What does that work out to? Like, a couple of billion spare rounds. If they want more than that, if they want to train a little bit, I mean, you're almost into the trillions of extra rounds that have to be produced just to keep up with like what is now current market demand. And also keep that perspective. I asked Federal about this after the last crisis when I was friends with him. So you probably can't find 22 on the shelf either, right?
Nope.
Neither can anybody else. Federal at the time, 2014 and forward, produces 6 million rounds of 22 long rifle a day. Just 22 long rifle.
Fuck.
I know, and they can't keep up with it.
They can't.
Think about that. And they've been producing that 6 million a day every day for the last 10 years.
What about those like foreign ones? What's that Russian company that makes was it Wolf?
Oh yeah, Wolf makes a lot of steel case. Believe it or not, they make actually like match grade, top notch 22.
Are they monitoring this market, or they just don't care? They're going to produce how they produce because they're going to sell it either way. Or I was just curious how the foreign, how they're like observing what the hell the United States is doing based on what you just said. 25 to 50 million new gun owners. Right. Are they ramping up their production, or is this just they're just riding it out because like, oh well, America doesn't have guns now?
It starts getting really weird when you talk about anywhere outside the United States, because a lot of places, even that aren't socialist countries, their ammunition is produced by like state-sponsored kind of like pseudo corporations that are kind of private and kind of not. So it makes it very hard for them to like turn up production. But I mean, I would guess they're doing everything that they can, and not only the Russian ammo, but like the Italian makers. There's a couple of Czech makers. I mean, we get quite a bit of ammo from Europe. But yeah, I think everybody's just doing everything they can, and it just is not making a dent.
Yeah, I was curious if that stuff was even being allowed to come in still. With people can't come in, but I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know if
container ships full of bullets can.
Yeah, it can still get in, right? So, who knows? But that's a good idea. There's the Oakland port out here. There's a lot of containers coming in. I might do what your book says, to just knock on a random container door with a couple of my friends. Maybe I'll go see if I can find
like, we got another container full of PlayStation 5.
Damn it. What am I going to do with these?
We don't even have a network yet.
Exactly. All right. So let me back up, because I've gone off on a, just, I could talk about this stuff, and I don't know the first thing I'm talking about, but hearing people who do always interest me. So, but anyway, so you are, as we said, you're retired Green Beret. What year did you join the military? Where'd you sign up first, and what made you do that? Is this something you always wanted to do? Family history? What was it?
Yeah, it was just kind of something I always wanted to do. I had some good friends, like their dads were military guys, like when I was growing up, and a lot of my uncles have served too. So I actually enlisted in the Marine Corps the first time back in '98. So came in, I was a grunt for a little bit, went over to recon for them, was kind of like their special operations. There was back before there was a MARSOC. This is, I feel like I'm ancient now. Doesn't exist, like, not because it was the coolest. Went to Scout Sniper School, did that stuff, did about, I guess it was 5 years in the Marine Corps. Actually got stop loss to go to Iraq the first time for the invasion. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, come on, man.
Just want to dance.
So ended that enlistment, immediately cross-decked over to the Army, and then went to West Virginia, actually the National Guard. I joined up with 19th Special Forces Group, and yeah.
Okay, so all right, so you went in. So when you went to Iraq, were you already a Green Beret or no?
The first time, no, I was in recon.
Okay, so I don't think a lot of people know that, because here's my thing, man, and I know you see this because you're active on Twitter too. It seems like either everyone on the every anonymous account on Twitter either pretends to be a Green Beret, wants to be a Green Beret, or actually is one. So it's kind of weird. I don't know why Twitter is that way, man. But so what does? Okay, you said you were with MARSOC at the time, right?
No, there was no MARSOC back then.
Okay, so the precursor to MARSOC. Yeah. So what was their role during the invasion? Because I know, First Marine Division went in with 3rd ID and on.
Right.
Well, all this stuff. But what were you guys doing during that?
Mostly just out in the desert calling in airstrikes on people.
I heard. Okay, so that makes sense, because I had a buddy. He was with the Florida National Guard during that time, because we all went in 2003 at the same time. He was part of the Florida National Guard, and I guess he said they came in through Jordan, and they were attached to a special forces group up there. And he said the same thing. We just hung out in the fucking desert, and
that was probably, I think it was 10th group that came in that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a weird time and place. Yeah, it was.
So did that make you want to get out and go to the Army from there, or was it just not meeting what kind of your expectations were of that?
Yeah, now kind of without flashbanging my own team room of back in the day, because the Marine Corps has basically some good strides forward.
Okay.
But the thing that people don't understand, this is kind of going down a long tangent, but I'll tell you anyway.
Do it.
So I'm sure you're familiar being an Army guy with Desert One, the Iranian hostage rescue back in 1980. Mm-hmm. All right, complete fucking debacle, right? Like, there was all this idiotic shit that happened. They had like Marines flying Navy helicopters, and Army dudes being the hitters, and like all this other bullshit. Everyone wanted a piece of it. So basically what was learned from that was like, this can't work this way for like special operations stuff anymore. So there was this thing called the Goldwater Nichols Act in 1986, and it was these congressmen, senators got their shit together, and like, there will be unified command. This is how it'll work. It is what it is. So Army, Navy, and Air Force were like, okay, cool. Like, we get generals and stuff. Awesome. Sweet. Badass. It's almost like having a fifth rich. Well, the Marine Corps, in their infinite wisdom, was like, hold on, because we're Marines. Like, we already have an air, ground, and sea component, because they kind of do with like a MEU. It's, and they're like, we don't want to play because we already meet all the requirements as our own singular unitary branch. And Congress turns to like the Army, Navy, and Marine, or Army, Navy, Air Force are like, you guys cool with that? And they're like, absolutely.
Don't want nothing to do with the Marine.
We want nothing to do with it. So, when things first happen, like SOCOM's getting built, and there's, friction, and things aren't going real great. And the thing people probably don't understand too is like, all up through the 70s and 80s, when it was a free-for-all, like, Marine Corps, I mean, Force Recon and stuff. I mean, there's some wild shit that those guys did that you'll never hear about.
Yeah.
They were basically a co-equal branch with everybody else. So a couple years after this happens, I guess it was probably really Somalia was probably the first time it like kicked the Marine Corps in the teeth. So next thing you know, they've got like, I don't know, a lieutenant colonel in charge of their special operations over in this branch. And SOCOM has like a 4-star who's got 2 or 3 stars to get him coffee and like, you know, down to like some colonels and shit. So basically,
Mother Corps win that argument. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just how it works. They're like, yeah, just go sit over there. We're doing this, and you can shut the fuck up. And they're like, oh. On top of which the Marine Corps hates its own special operations anyway. So it's not like they're going to get help from these guys. The lieutenant colonel's going to go bitch to his 2-star and he'll be like, fuck you. I have like a parade to have or something. Get away from that. So this is kind of stuff like I wouldn't even have known until September 11th, actually. So
okay, good. It's transition. I like it.
Good transition. So, you know, I go in 98. Do all my stuff, go to, you know, hard ass school, amphibious reconnaissance school, get my teeth kicked in, whatever, like got my cool badges and shit. Like now we're part of the thing, right? So September 11th rolls around and, you know, all this shit happens. And like, basically, you know, there could be a klaxon alarm, like all special operations to the airfield. And, you know, we show them, they're like, not you fucking clowns. And we're like, oh no. So basically that was it. You know, if you were in that force right around like 2001, 2002, like it was a devastating awakening. It was like finding out that everybody else has nods and you don't. Like,
classic Marine Corps. Right.
Yeah, classic fucking Marine Corps. So basically what happened is after 2003, you know, that was great for like the regular Marine Corps, but it was not the finest hour for like Marine Corps special operations. Like, I mean, we showed up at this fucking hangar in Kuwait, and we got a briefing from 5th Group and their Air Force attachment dudes. But basically, you know, the chaplains walking around handing out batteries for people's Walkmans, and we're like putting them in our nods because that was the only new batteries that we had. Because like our ship didn't have fucking batteries. I swear to God that happened. That was real life. Do you might need this? And we're like, oh my God, I can use my PVS-7. It's cool. And we go to the 5th Group's little area, and these dudes got like ATVs with fucking Berets on them and like all this fucking shit. And like, what the hell have you guys been doing? Like, oh yeah, we've been running to Baghdad every night on our 4-wheelers. What have you guys been doing? Like, we've been sitting on this boat, like tugging each other's dicks. Like, it's fucking terrible, and I don't want to play anymore. So, I mean, effectively, that was a huge wake-up call. And if you look back statistically at that time, something absurd, like 70% of the, probably 60-70% of the Marine Corps recon forces all left. They went and became contractors, or they crossed back to the Army, or they crossed back to the Navy. So, I mean, years later, I had an ODA actually where I had 3 other recon Marines on it from my same era. And when I went to Halo School, me and my buddy met up with our friend. He was actually a BUDS instructor now. There was a recon Marine with us. So yeah, you
guys just all walking around changing uniforms and shit, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I always thought about that. Like I always had this joke, like when it was time to re-enlist, like it should be like, you know, NFL free agency. Like which branch is going to give me, who wants me? You know what I mean?
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Oh, you got a $20,000 bonus. What do you got over there? Like, oh, you're going to sign me for, okay. I think, you know, it's not
but I got to move to Cleveland. Like, nah, dog, I'm out.
Yeah. What are my PCS options? All right. No, I'll take the cash option. But yeah, so I've heard some stories similar to that. That's why I was curious when I brought up Nick. So you crossed over and then you went into the 19th Group. And when did you deploy again? What year?
So I went to the Q course, graduated, I guess it was January of 2006, and my battalion was already in Iraq. So we didn't even graduate. We didn't walk across the stage. We got our hats and orders.
Yeah, here, get to the tarmac. You gotta. So how was that? Like, so when you did that, were you guys, how was everybody like, cause you probably know this, like 2003, when we went into Iraq in 2003, we weren't expecting this.
No,
it was supposed to, you know, General Shinseki at the time, I remember like we got extended 4 times and finally came home after 15 months. But like everything, worst case was like, you'll be home before Christmas in 2003.
Right. Home before Christmas. Where have we ever heard that before?
Yeah, right. Which Christmas though? Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, so I, like I said, I did that, came back in 2004, and I didn't deploy again until 2013. So, but I remember I was a drill sergeant at Fort Benning during the surge, and they were pulling all the combat arms dudes, all the infantry, anybody combat arms was coming back and going for the surge. And you kind of predated that. So I was just curious, since you guys knew like, hey man, this is not going the way this was supposed to go. You're in the Q course, you graduate. What was everyone's mindset? Were you guys excited? Were you just looking to get over there and get a part of it? Or were you just like,
it was crazy, man. 'Cause, I mean, just like you, when I was actually probably the first unit out of OIF one, because we'd already been at sea for like 9 months. So we only went in for like 2 or 3 months or something. Real short amount of time for that time and place. So we're home by summer. And we thought the fucking war was over, man. Like, it's like, oh fuck, I wish I'd have shot 10 more people. Like, damn it, because I mean, dude, you're about my age, man. Yeah. Growing up, like Grenada was like 2 days, and Panama was like, I don't know.
Oh, even Desert Storm was 4.
Yeah, exactly. So like, if it was over, it was over. Like we might not see it again for 5 years. So yeah, even when we made the move, I was like, fuck, man, I guess I'll just, do an enlistment over here. And if the next one pops off, cool. If not, I'll figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But, as we're going through the Q course, and I mean, the war is still fucking raging. Yeah. And, I still got friends that are active duty Marines that are going back over for like their second and third tours while I'm still in the fucking Q. In fact, son of a bitch, my old recon platoon became a Force Recon platoon. And they went to Fallujah while I was in like fucking BNOD. That was, I was like beside myself. I had to put myself on suicide watch for a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I missed the show because son of a bitch.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of dudes generally that go to the Q course anyway. Like, they're ready to rock and roll. Like, we were actually happy the war was still going on so we could get a combat patch. Yeah. We're like, okay, get over there. Fucking
back when they meant something.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, we were stoked, but man, I gotta tell you, that was probably the biggest culture shock I've ever seen, though. Because the invasion was like a shit show. I mean, we were eating like fucking raviolis that somebody trucked in from Kuwait one time. I mean, people were starving. Even the Marine Corps didn't make a shave because we were out of water. Like, shit was all fucked up. I mean, shit was fucking plaid, bro. You remember that shit?
Yeah.
So we get off the fucking plane. This is actually probably the best segue I can make. When we flew in, we landed at Nasiriyah, and they were putting bodies on a reefer plane in front of us, which I didn't even know there was such a thing as an Air Force reefer plane. Like, oh, holy shit, this is fucking real. When I flew into Balad the second time in 2006, broad daylight, swear to God, I walk off the fucking tail of this bird, and I see an MP with a radar gun blazing cars on the road and giving out fucking speeding tickets. And there's like a Burger King over here and like a fucking, and I'm like, where in the fuck are we?
Well, see, it's funny you said that, because you said you went home already in 2003 before summer, right? Or in summer.
Yeah, like July or so, yeah.
Yeah, so so I remember we were at like an ECP pulling guard and like probably end of April, early May of 2003. And like the PX civilian in charge comes through and we're like, hey, sir, whatever. And he starts shooting the shit with us. And he's like, well, in a little bit, you'll be able to, finally have some Burger King instead of the MREs. And we're just like, oh yeah, cool. Burger King joke. All right, civilian dude, whatever. But sure enough, we had a fucking Burger King before we had the Bob Hope dining facility that opened up later, like a month after that. The one that's famous for President Bush at the time coming in and getting all of his picture with Thanksgiving dinner and everything. We literally had a fucking Burger King. And the main, like we had a soft opening, but the grand opening was basically 4th of July week when the Dallas cheerleaders and the USO and Kid Rock and everybody was there. And I stood 6 hours for a fucking burger. I swear to God, I did it. 6 hours.
I fucking get it, man.
6 hours. Snaking in a line. Like, it wasn't even like I was 6 hours. But, oh man. No, I could see the
dude,
snaking.
I know you've had to do this too, though. You know how fucking hard it is to tell a Vietnam vet that we fought a war with Burger King and bottled water? Like, yeah, man, fucking Burger King got rocketed one night. They're like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, I'm like, no, really, it did. Like, it happened.
Hey, you know, but to be fair, I talked to a lot of old Air Force vets out here because there's 2 Air Force bases, and I hear some of their stories about when they were living in downtown Saigon and chilling. I mean, so
Okay. Yeah.
you know,
Still, man, it's
yeah, I'm
fucking
not going to bring those stories up, but let's just be honest, because my grandfather, you know, rest his soul at this point, but he was in Korea, and he would always ask, like, hey, you know, how was it? What'd you do and everything? And, you know, did you guys get to have a beer on this day or whatever? I'm like, no, Grandpa, because the main reason we don't get to have beer anymore in combat, well, we don't. You Green Berets do whatever the fuck you want still. The conventional guys don't, because people like you, Grandpa, and your unit, you guys fucking ruined it for us. And that's why we can't have fun 60 years later, because of all the fun you guys had. We don't get to do any of that shit now at this point.
And then he's like, I saw you faggots with a pallet of Avion outside your fucking hooch. Like, God damn it. Okay.
Yeah, that's even funnier though. You mentioned the whole Burger King thing. Like, did you ever go through Kandahar?
No, never went
Okay,
there.
so Kandahar, they had that boardwalk. I don't know, you may have heard about that, but I mean, there's a Fridays there. I mean, there's a Fridays in Kuwait, but you expect that in Kuwait. There's a Fridays in Kandahar, absolutely awful, but it's there.
It's
That boardwalk was just like, I mean, you know how this works probably. Anywhere that we are long enough, we're going to turn it into garrison, which is what you were kind of describing with the speed radar checks. But man, I tell people this because I left my last deployment in 2015, and I was based in Arif Jan and Kuwait and just flew over, you know, doing site visits to Jordan, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. But I would tell people, if I dropped you off in the middle of the night in Camp Arif Jan and you woke up in the middle of that compound, you would think you're in the States. You would not think you're in a imminent danger area or a war zone. Yeah, because I mean, that is a base. That looks. And you want to talk about handing out tickets? I mean, they hand out tickets for not having your PT belt,
which is also completely fucking insane. I mean, the shit. This is important though. This is the shit that people should hear about this fucking war. Like,
exactly.
motherfuckers had speeding tickets, didn't have your PT belt on, then we went to Burger King. Like,
we had 2 Starbucks. There's 2 Starbucks at Camp Arif Jan, and I would go to both of them on my way to fucking work and didn't care because I would. Lived in zone 6, worked in zone 1. I would get one at each because I had nothing else to do. And then I just go work out for 6 hours a day because what else am I going to do?
Right.
That is the best part about being deployed in this time and day, as we call it, deployed. You guys still do stuff for real, but most of us don't. We just go and get deployed. You come back with abs. It goes in along with what you're talking about in the concrete jungle. You need to start training. And
hell yeah.
I would recommend joining the military and getting deployed to Kuwait. You can train real fucking hard. And they'll pay you tax-free, free food. You can come back ripped. I guarantee you will come back shredded. Unless you're just lazy.
Or fat, one of the two. Like,
you can come back fat.
You can come back fat.
Cheat days were epic. You know, full pizzas from Pizza Hut.
Oh man, how about surf and turf night, bro?
Oh God, like it gets to the point where you're like, this again, because you don't even appreciate it anymore.
Like,
I'm gonna waste so much money on surf and turf, and it's like, oh great, crab legs again, as much as I want. This sucks. Yeah. So for everyone listening, by all means, please join the Army. You can experience this. So you did 2006 into you went to Iraq, correct?
Yep.
No, and then okay. So your book touches on not necessarily like in detail on what you guys did, because obviously I understand the sensitive nature of it all, but
right.
How was that for you? Because it seems like when I read your reading, like your words, you seem fine. Like you don't seem like, despite all the stuff you were a part of, you don't seem like you came back with any real, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like pretty there upstate. Like psychologically, you seem like you're in a good place. Like, despite all the stuff you've done and seen.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think honestly, for the most part, most of our people do. And a lot of that goes back to like, I mean, they spend a lot. The physical like tryout shit is like difficult, but they spend just as much time or maybe even more and money and investment checking your brain to see if you're the kind of person that can do all this shit.
Yeah.
As I mean, man, I would see guys that were like fucking mass murderers do some like horrendous fucking crazy shit. Mm-hmm. And 10 minutes after we get home, they're holding a baby girl and their puppy. Like everything's cool, man. Like it's just, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just part of the wiring thing.
I think that, and then that kind of ties me back into what, you know, on a different thing I was talking about with some people last week on this. It's not funny you mentioned that, but I think it's a little ironic in that we have such an issue with our conventional forces, because this is where I would tie a lot of this up. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. There's a lot of special operations guys, Green Berets, whoever, who unfortunately take their lives.
Yeah,
And
we've got a high suicide rate. Or what's the suicide that didn't want to look like suicide? Like, a fucking, there was a legend of special forces that overdosed on heroin 6 months after he retired. Like,
wow.
what? Yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, I get it. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, but I think like you talk about how we put so much investment into your guys's, the wiring, make sure you guys can do, what they are eventually going to ask of you, because there are many schools you can go to in the military, especially in the Army, that once you go through the school, you're never going to do it again. Airborne's probably one of them. Like, you can go be airborne anytime you want, but you can't just go to the Q course and be like, fuck, I'm a Green Beret, but I'm gonna go, you guys have fun, I'm gonna go back to my code life. I don't think that happens. So, and I get maybe it's the cost that we'll always run into issues with, and bureaucracy and everything. But I just wondered if we spent a significant amount of that time and effort, like you described, how they put into you guys, into some of, not even everybody. I'm not saying everybody. I'm talking about your at least your combat centric forces, right?
Oh, dude. Yeah, man, dude. I 100% fucking agree with you there. I mean, it's fucking shameful what we do to, especially our infantry. I mean, it's what we do not give them as far as weapons and training, all this other bullshit. And I mean, dude, you could scrap one fucking Joint Strike Fighter F-22 bullshit fucking thing and buy every grunt in the Army and Marine Corps like a new gun and an optic. Like, it's actually fucking shameful. And I don't know why it's always been this way. I mean, I guess part of it is actually military industrial complex.
Yeah.
To outfit a grunt with like the best top of the line shit ever is probably like 50, 60 grand. I mean, nods a gun, whatever bullshit.
Yeah.
You're not going to get Boeing and Raytheon excited about that.
Right.
Yeah, right. I think that we, for your small, like little special operations dudes and shit, they have to have that happen. So they just let them buy off the shelf shit all the time. But yeah, the way we treat our infantrymen is fucking shameful.
Yeah. No, I think and you know what, that's what always has just pissed me off the most is like, especially I remember as a drill sergeant, like when privates get close to graduation day, they're like, oh, I can't wait to go get some boots like you, drill sergeant. I'm like, man, yeah, I get that. But at the same time, I was always bothered by, because when you came in at the same time, we got black fucking boots, right?
Yep.
And if you went to airborne school, you got your jump boots, or you may have had some jungle boots because they were a little more comfortable. But to me, the bottoms were always weird, and that's the first issue of the desert boots when we went into Iraq. The second, but I just remember like this whole market of after boot camp and basic training boots from everybody now, Nike, Reebok, Oakley, any brand you can think of, that didn't exist.
Oh, no,
this is a fairly new phenomenon, and Joe can't wait to fucking spend his money on it.
Right.
And that to me is wrong right there, because you know what would I do? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll contract with fucking Nike or Oakley or whatever and let them make the damn boots and everybody wants and issue those.
Maybe I'll give that kid $300 to go buy his own fucking boots, but I'll pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, oh, what about the clothing allowance? I'm like, fucking Joe takes that to the class 6. Relax, man. Come on. So, and that's what kind of comes out of like, I don't know if you ever heard the story of the Nike. I don't know if he was a VP or something, but he was like, that's why they started making combat boots, because I guess he was in World War II and was a paratrooper and wanted to make a good boot for the military or some shit.
No shit. No, I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, I can't remember the entire story. I probably dicked it all up, but there's something, that's why Nike got into it. But I mean, everybody's into it at this point. And then you have all the other aftermarket stuff you described, right? Like, what does your average infantry guy go buy? They all go start buying their own, some sort of kit, or they go buy what they can, like they invest a lot of money into themselves, right? Because they feel, I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I think they do it because they feel like they have to.
Well, I kind of agree with it too, because I mean, man, even from, I haven't really looked at a grunt's gear in probably like 10, probably 12, 13 years. Yeah. But I mean, their equipment was fucking junk. I mean, it was fucking garbage. Their armor sucked dick. It was just fucking unwieldy fucking trash. They didn't start getting really acceptable weapons, in my opinion, like, optics, red dots, and real fucking training, probably like 2005, 2006.
Oh yeah, this is definitely post-invasion.
Right. And even at that, that shit's falling off now. I wish I had an 11 Bravo I could call right now because it was like of our age. Because I'm sure he'd be
Oh,
like,
I
"Oh,
just
it's
got a
so
new guy in
bad."
the office. I'll ask him tomorrow. Actually,
Good, man. Yeah, do it.
He just came from Germany and he hates it. So
But yeah, I mean, those guys, because they do a hard fucking job too. And
yeah.
grunts have carried a lot of fucking water in this war. They will get like 0% of the fucking glory for it, but it's fucking true. I mean, the dudes have done some pipe hitting, mean ass fucking shit. And yeah, they get treated like shit for it. One, the American culture doesn't ever recognize that because they weren't, in fucking SEAL Team 11 and a half. And then two,
which you mentioned in the book,
like,
Concrete Jungle, go read it.
Yeah. were you a Navy SEAL? Then fuck you, man. And the second thing is, yeah, they get shit for equipment. Like they never get as much ammo as they should have to train. They never get, the best fucking guns and boots and fucking whatever other bullshit.
Yeah.
They should have all that shit. It's not that expensive.
Yeah, and so what's funny is because I have been fortunate enough just to be in, hey, time and place and everything in life, right? So look, when I joined initially, I was in the reserve. So when we went in during the invasion and did our thing with that, I mean, we didn't know any better. I have pictures of me from getting into the Baghdad airport, after we finally were able to get out of the convoy, and I got my, Vietnam era flak vest on.
Hell yeah.
But when you put that on, you're like, I got a fucking flak vest. You don't really think anything, right?
Right.
The vinyl doors in the Humvees, like there was no such thing as an up armored Humvee, not for us at least. I'm sure maybe some guys had it.
Back then, probably not.
Yeah, but then like a few months after that, we got issued our first IOTV.
Yeah.
And the first generation with the SAPI inserts and all. And I was just like, we had this? Like, you didn't know any better, right? And then now, like when I went in 2015, that's 12 years. So I think they're on an IOTV like Gen 4 model now, and this was Gen 3 in 2015. And man, you know what that weighed without fucking just a basic load? It was 23 pounds of just plate, like the side plate, the plate, back plate. Like I was wearing an extra large because I was a big guy at the time. And I just remember like I'm working out with that thing, and I'm just, and I'm not even doing the stuff you guys are doing, but I just remember thinking to myself, like, what the hell am I supposed to do anything with this on?
Right. Oh, it's absolutely insane.
But I've seen, and I don't bring that up to be negative. I bring that up more so to put like, there is some, I think, an effort to advance those things, but what does it go back to? The military industrial complex. Cause all that is another contract for some other company.
Exactly. And Mattis, despite the fact that he's done some boneheaded fucking things in the last 2 years, he was a big proponent of trying to, basically, there was a phrase that he used it for. I forget what the hell it was, but basically bring our infantry up like 2 generations of equipment and fucking training, and that is what needs to happen. I mean, we need those fucking guys, and they need to have some fucking first-rate shit. And the fact they don't is bullshit.
Yeah, and you know what? I also want. This is one. I had a ton of notes. I'm not going in order at all, but it is something you brought up in the book, and I mentioned it. I wrote it down here because I remember watching a live fire exercise at Fort Benning once upon a time, and I think it was 2009 or 2010. But like, I don't know if it was the Saudi prince himself or it was like his representative was at Benning, and we were doing this live fire demonstration for him, and the guy buys like $35 billion worth of Bradleys after that. But it goes to something you said in the book, how like the Saudi Arabian army is like totally Gucci'd out and they've got everything. And that's so true. Like they really spend a ton of money on our equipment and stuff.
They buy.
And you point out, and I don't know, I've never really actually seen the Saudi army in person. I've only heard things. I've seen every other Middle Eastern branch of military, Air Force, whatever. I've never seen the Saudis, but you say they can't fight their way out of a paper bag.
Dude, you could grab the in processing platoon of the 82nd Airborne and kick the ever living shit out of the Saudis. And they're fucking soft people. So how does it work for them? Like all their officers, and I want to say all the first line, like, royal bodyguard type dudes have to be Saudi citizens.
Okay.
Looks like Kuwaitis. Like you're a Saudi citizen, like you get some ins from that oil.
Yeah.
So
oil money.
So these motherfuckers have grown up like soft, prissy boy, fucking Nancy ass. And then they're going to like form into a military. Like, nah, dog, that shit ain't going to happen. And I've seen it the same way from several of those countries over there that are rich. Like if they have an effective military, it's because they have like basically hired like 4 regiments of mercenaries to like keep them from getting fucking killed. Like, yeah, they couldn't find their way to a wet paper bag.
It is weird though, because they have all that equipment.
Oh yeah, dude, they got equipment even on like the soft side that makes us fucking look like, fucking Kmart. They got some
Yeah.
gangster shit, but yeah, they don't know how to use it.
I was about to say, where are they getting it from? It's got to be from us, but
Right.
I don't know. Maybe China. And then I go back to kind of the infantry thing, because it was about, I think I was trying to tie it into the mental aspect and what effort is, put into you guys to make sure that you guys can do that. And this, like there's no waivers for you to get into the fucking, you either meet the qualifications to go do special forces shit or you don't.
Right.
Now I'm sure they can do waivers from everything. There's a waiver for everything. I got it. But at the end of the day, you need to have this baseline of smarts and adaptability and some general, awareness of what you need to be able to do.
Yep.
And I had my best friend to this day. He literally is the smartest guy I know. But I remember he was the first guy I knew to join the Army right after, well, not right after high school, but fairly shortly after. But he was a gifted student. He's again, smartest dude I know. He's super successful on his own in business now. But he got a 99 on the ASVAB, and all he wanted to do, the recruiter at the time, we don't do this anymore, but the recruiter said to him, "What do you want to do? Where do you want to go?" He's like, "I just want to be airborne. I just want to be infantry, and I want to go to Italy." Done. 99 ASVAB, go be airborne infantry in Vicenza, lived the life for 4 years. That's exactly what he did. The stories are great. But he would always tell me, and I've seen this now after being in as long as I have, is like the infantry is full of the smartest and the dumbest all in one. And that's where I think we're like, it's a legacy thing. Cause I mean, you get the history of the foot soldier, right? Got it. And I already know, like, hey, we don't have enough as it is to fill the infantry ranks with, a smarter individual. I'm sure we would love that, but for the most part, the really smart ones don't automatically want to do infantry first. Now there are some that do, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, we got to understand, like, yes, the best and the brightest officers go into the infantry, right? That is not how the infantry works for the enlisted. It is not. But that's because it's a voluntary thing, and I got it. I just wish, and I don't know if you have any insight on that, or if there's something you've just seen maybe working with conventional guys while you're in, but what do you think is kind of the limiting factor of the infantry now? Is it intelligence? Is it equipment thing? Is it what kind of makes those guys, or what would make them
Better?
more? Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say that a big piece of it, like you said, there's this legacy of this country thinking that like infantry were fucking idiots, which is absolutely not true.
Exactly.
Which I've seen the same. I would agree with you there 100%. I've seen the smartest and some of the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever met, but still, the infantry has a higher GT requirement than a lot of other jobs.
Yes, that is true
For the Army.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, the thing that would help the most is if we, as a society and as a DOD, stop treating them like fucking redheaded stepchildren. So one of the things is everybody hates an infantry when there's not a war on, because
I've heard that throughout my entire life.
Little beer bottle throwing, like guys joined that job because they want to do adventure shit, and if you don't have an adventure to give them, like they're gonna fucking make one up, and that's just So typically they are the kids starting fights and all this, taking the MPs on a hike, all this other bullshit. Well, fuck, man, that kind of comes with the territory. Like that's the guy that you wanted then to hold the line and fucking against the machine, whatever.
True. Yeah.
So part of it, I think, is understanding that too. Like I said, we got to start treating them a little bit differently, and that comes from like image too, which something the DoD could help with. I mean, when the 82nd Airborne's DRF won, goddamn, was that last year? I think it was. I think it was like the end of 2019, into last year, when they took the DRF one over to Baghdad to hold the fucking embassy, and they were talking about doing a fucking jump and all this other shit. You could have recruited like fucking 25,000 new guys to be in the 82nd Airborne that day. If we treat the 82nd Airborne like that every day, or the Marine Infantry, or 10th Mountain, I mean, because think about Ranger Battalion, man. That's an infantry, but they don't have any fucking problem recruiting. I mean, they got a 3-year waiting list to get in a Ranger Battalion.
And none of these kids off the street know that.
No, they don't.
You know,
No, they don't. They do not.
yeah.
But
well, I think you're right though. But they also, I think the big thing, and this is what I at least see without. So there's a specific. There's one branch that is spending a ton of time advertising for everything but that. If you can read between the lines on that one. So we are not. They are not trying to
upgrade their infantry.
No, I don't. I think that it's all the other stuff, which I get. Trust me, I'm on board with all of it. Like I people should know that, because I think that there is, and there's an image. It's not an image problem, or it's not it may be a marketing thing, but I think at the end of the day, most people who don't have any family members or know anybody in the military, you talk to these people for the first time, the first thing they automatically assume is that the Army is nothing but.
Oh, dude, I didn't know that there were jobs when you signed up. Like when I went to the Marine Corps, I was like, what do you want to be? And I was like, fucking Marine, man. Like you get like a machine gun, right?
Yeah. And that's how the Marines do it. Like, you're going to be a Marine. Don't worry about what you're doing. You're going to be a Marine. And that shit works on 17.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, it does.
They
like,
kill the high school
excavator. Like, fuck. But
I mean, you don't learn that stuff until after the fact. Like, how did you sign up for that? Like, what made you sign up for the Marine? Oh yeah, you're a Marine, but dude, you're a fucking mechanic. Relax.
Right.
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 Just got a different uniform, but you're still a mechanic. You're still training at Fort Lee with all everybody else.
Right.
Yeah. Talking to Clay Martin, author of multiple books, as he's pointed out, but you can pick up The Concrete Jungle, which is a Green Beret's guide to urban survival. And then he has Prairie Fire out now, which, as he described earlier, is basically a red state guide to surviving a civil war started by a blue state or blue state people.
Blue County, whatever.
Blue County. All right, Blue County.
Yeah.
There's a plethora of them around here. So, all right, let me get into something that I found. How are we doing on time for you? I can do this all.
Oh yeah, we're good, man. Okay. No worries.
All right. So you wrote on a ton of things in the Concrete Jungle book, but one of the chapters you have is on learning some hand-to-hand fighting skills, learning how to defend yourself without a weapon, or I guess with one. Knife, blade, whatever.
I prefer with one, but yeah.
I would assume a man with your history would probably assume to have a weapon with him. I mean, unless you're just into go trying out, I don't know. There used to be, I don't know if they do this anymore, but I remember being in high school and there was always like boxing nights at local clubs, like nightclubs. Like they would stop the music. Yeah, like this was in downtown Orlando. They would stop them, and guys were taking this shit serious. They were training for like going to the club, dancing for like 2 hours, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's 11 p.m. We're gonna have the fights, yeah. And so anyway, I don't know if you're into the boxing thing, but I'm not.
That's hilarious. That's crazy. Yeah. I'm too old for it myself. But
I don't know. Anderson Silva just fought, made it to the fourth round. But I mean, Uriah Hall's not young either. But Silva, I was just like, first round, I was like, oh, he still got it.
I've done this once or twice. I prefer 300 win mag from like 1,200 yards, but you don't always get your choice.
Exactly.
But yeah, going into the hand-to-hand chapter of this, I knew this was gonna be controversial. Just because, I mean, that is, dude, it's like I say about men. There's 4 things that every man in this world thinks he can do better than every other man. He's never had a minute of training. That is shoot, drive, fight, and the other one.
Yep.
And man, it's fucking like that, bro. I mean, dude, you will see people like challenge a fucking UFC champion at a fucking bar like they're gonna flex. I mean, some guy that doesn't have enough cardio to throw 10 punches, and it fucking happens.
Well, Braxton, not to cut you off because I want you to feel that, but Braxton McCoy, mutual probably of ours, but he knows some MMA fighters, and he just put this out a couple days ago. But he's like, I know a lot of these dudes, and they will slap you in the face on sight just for saying the stuff that you're saying.
Yeah, it's fucking true.
Like, what are you asking for? You're asking to get beat. Like, come on. But that's all right. Never mind. I'll get into it later. But go ahead. Go back to
anyway. So going into this, I knew this bit was going to be controversial because everybody has an opinion on this, and for the most part, it's an untested opinion, though. I mean, because most people, honestly, in this day and age, have never been in a fucking street fight. They have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. But I was really tired And also, Concrete Jungle was written to dispel a lot of myths about shooting and everything else, but if you have very limited time, point you in the right direction of like, this is what you need to do. This is the minimum that's going to get you by.
Mhm.
And you're actually not the first person to call me on this, because a couple of people have called me on the fact that I basically like say, don't do any traditional martial arts. Like it's all strip mall fucking taekwondo bullshit. It's not gonna fucking work. And I've actually been called on it by a couple of mutual friends that are like real legitimate old school, Okinawan karate, like hardcore, like bare knuckles, beat each other kind of guys.
Yeah.
And so I probably should have put a better, like, there are exceptions to the rule thing up front, because there are.
Yeah. Right.
But for the most part, what I say in there is true. And that is that most, like, the more exotic somebody tells you their hand to hand combat system is, the more it's bullshit.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's get into that. Cause, so this is, I brought this up because I bought the book for my brother. I had him, read it as well, because stuff he could use. But I remember reading that chapter and finishing it and like, all right, I gotta get his take on this stuff. Because my brother has done mixed martial arts from as long as I can remember growing up, because my brother's older, so he would come home and whatever he learned that day, he would fucking practice on me.
It's fucking sweet. Like
Yeah.
Mariah.
So in a way, he was toughening me up, but the small version of me just wanted to cry to my mom, but whatever.
I totally get that.
Yeah. I feel as he's toughened me up, because now he's like, I don't understand how you've been in the army and you think like being in the army is fun. And I'm like, well, I don't understand how you like getting punched in the face, bro. Cause I don't.
Right.
It's much better, in my opinion, to be behind a rifle than, hey, let's stand here and fight. Like, no, I don't have that wiring. He's like, well, I don't have that wiring. I'm like, all right, well then we're different, but thanks for beating me up over the years. So anyway, one of the things he's done is Krav Maga, and you have a section about that. You actually rank it last in all of your.
I do.
Yeah. So he said, I'm gonna read a few sentences here, quoting. He's right about the Polish Krav Maga guys, but like any martial art, it depends on the school and where that school is located. And he trained us in LA. The guys in LA at the gym I trained with were essentially was essentially an MMA gym with street fighting mixed in. So it was a mix of everything. The top guys were on the local MMA circuit. 3 were in Strike Force. We had 1 or 2 in UFC, but they were primarily brought in as Brazilian jiu-jitsu coaches. The average guy was some West LA dork, but they usually got weeded out on the first time they got punched in the face hard. And that is what he's probably experienced, because most people who train these things are those people. They're not what you describe, which are, I think in the book you describe as like,
well, that was my
super
caveat.
well fit, whatever, guys who are just training to go actually fight and survive. Right.
So that was my caveat to ranking Krav Maga last. So I had a really good time in 2006 because I was co-located with a bunch of Polish Special Forces guys.
That's pretty cool.
We were like on their base, for like 9 months, like hang out every night. And
That's awesome.
I like to fight, so they like to fight, turns out. And the Polish Special Forces, they were big Krav Maga guys. And so they're doing shit, and I'd seen them like mangle some fucking people, and we'd fight each other for fun, kill each other, but like training and shit. Super respectful. And those dudes, they were hard as a fucking coffin nail. In fact, I would put them in a fist fighting contest up against anybody across the US DOD and expect them to win every time, because they don't have any money for bullets. They beat the shit out of it. They fight every day.
You put that in the book, which is true, right, I think. Right? We spend money on what we can spend money on.
Right. They got borrowed knives. They didn't borrow this. You know what I mean? So they train it legitimately for a couple hours every day. In fact, they even asked me if I wanted to fight their master trainer when he came around, and I was like, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I was like,
I want to snipe against me. How about that?
Right. So that was actually the first time I'd seen Krav Maga, and I was like, man, these guys are fucking all right. Well, so I actually tried it out at a couple of gyms, and I'm going to assume that your brother's right. He's probably at a hard ass place. And LA is also, Southern California in general is a very good, martial arts place in general. That's where the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu gym started. That's where, you've seen a lot of champions grow up. Well, everywhere else in the United States, at least that I've seen, Krav Maga is a fucking bad joke. It's like straight out of the Israeli special fucking TV commercials, and you show up and it's complete and absolute fucking horse shit.
Yeah.
And it will get you fucking murdered unless you're in a badass place. And I make no apologies for that.
So I always thought that was more of like Taekwondo will get you murdered.
It will. Oh yeah, it absolutely will.
And capoeira will get you murdered.
Yes.
But there are some good movies about those.
Right.
Only the strong, for those who've seen it.
Right. I'm sure there are other exceptions in the country, like the 4 or 5 places I've tried with Krav Maga, they're as bad or worse than strip mall Taekwondo.
Yeah. But
like
see, so you've done this stuff though. So I do get, I mean, I put credit into that because you're not just, I'm going like everyone else on the internet today, especially Twitters, like I'm just going to give my complete opinion on something I've never experienced. Right. Because that's, I think, the downfall of most arguments on the internet is most of them are just given based off of a reaction to a headline and there's no substance to it. But you say, so you've done a lot of this stuff. So what do you still practice to this day something or what is your go-to at this point?
Yeah. And, I'm not going to pretend that I'm like, master hand-to-hand combat dude of the universe either. Yeah. It's not my deal. But up until I got the blood clot this year, I still practice Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo when I can. I haven't been able to do anything this year, which has been extraordinarily painful, but yeah. And, over the last 20 years, I've crammed in where I could. There were years where I couldn't do anything because I was, doing other stuff, but I've always tried to get back to, especially the jiu-jitsu and judo gyms. That's kind of my thing. Yeah. And I used to like to kickbox a lot, but I've sustained enough shoulder injuries now that I can't even hit a bag more than about 1 round. So that pretty much means you can't be a kickboxer because, just how it works. But yeah, I've done this stuff. I've fought in tough man contests when I was younger and all that kind of dumb shit.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was at the club I was describing. It was like a tough man thing. I couldn't think of the name of it. Yeah, randomly at Club Roxy in downtown Orlando. Good days. Right. But, no, but that is so. I mean, that's interesting because I do remember you writing a lot. Like I think you're kind of a pretty big stand for judo.
I'm a huge stand for judo, actually.
But it's been ruined, I think, kind of what you said, though, because the Olympics, you see, it's not like that's not real.
Dude, it fucking sucks ass. I'm gonna tell a story out of school here, a little bit, because I don't like to shit on anybody's thing unless I absolutely have to. But I was a judo guy when I was younger. I was, fucking real good at it for where I was or whatever. And I loved it. And I've also ended multiple street fights in my life with one good throw. You throw a motherfucker on pavement, like it's over.
Yeah, gravity's a powerful drug.
Yeah, broken ribs, fucking dislocated shoulders. They're fucked up. So I didn't actually get to train in judo proper for like 17, 18 years. So I'm finally retired now. I got to a place in my life and go back to a judo gym. And I'm out of shape. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to get massacred tonight. My instructor before was a little short, like this wide Korean guy that would absolutely like fuck you up. Like he was just a vicious, terrible human being, and I loved him for it. I don't even remember if he spoke English. I don't think he did.
The leverage. He's got that leverage.
Exactly. But that's the kind of judo that I was used to. And then, I went back to this, and I was like, I went back to one gym. I was like, oh, this is fucking terrible. It's not great. Well, then I moved over to Oregon for a little while, and I trained with, God damn it, now my TBIs are kicking in, Dennis Ash, who runs Connection Rio Jiu-Jitsu. He actually opened a hostel in Rio de Janeiro when he was a young man so that he could go to Brazil and train and actually get his black belt down there. And he was one of the first Americans to ever get his black belt in Brazil. Oh, wow. So he's got this school there, and I show up. And I'm also going to say that I've trained at a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms in the last 20 years, just on and off, just like little things here and there. Mm-hmm. About 30-40% of the time, like, I can chew up their blue belts and shit. Well, I show up at Dennis's facility, and I got the absolute living shit kicked out of me by all of his white belts. I'm like, and also a lot of jiu-jitsu has changed in the last 20 years since I was like, but I mean, the game has come up like drastically, but I mean, they kicked the living shit out of me, and I was like, oh my fuck, like what is going on here? And so I trained really hard there for about 6-8 months. And I mean, it was fantastic. It's the best jiu-jitsu time that I've ever had. Well, then I tried to go to a judo gym when I moved again. And dude, I couldn't even break a sweat. It was like embarrassing.
Really?
It was. So it's just like Krav Maga. It's very hit or miss.
Goes back to where you're at. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in there like how tall? How big are you? You're like a big guy.
I am like 6 foot tall. I weigh about 240.
Okay, so just picking a fight with you in general is not a good idea for the average person. But that's I think that goes with what you're saying, though. What you may lack in technique, you can kind of get some smaller guys on strength,
right?
Briefly before you tire yourself or whatever, right? I got that though. But yeah, so that's what I don't think a lot of people understand is. you kind of need to know what you're getting yourself into, and you need
Oh
to
yeah,
use your eyes.
weight classes exist for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Right. That's a perfect thing. That's true. That is funny because now the average person could probably still get destroyed by a 135-pound fucking Uriah Faber type. You know what I mean? Like he would
Right.
probably hurt me.
Right. I don't think I
I
wouldn't
get
want to
him.
fight.
I might be okay, but he's still going to
Right.
figure out a way to get out of that shit. So
I
yes,
wouldn't want to fight him either.
yeah.
You know,
But
yeah.
still, like if you watch this stuff, whatever it is you're watching, judo, boxing, UFC. If a man's 6'4" and 250, you got to really have some skill to take that one, or else
Yeah,
the
it's
law
probably
of
not gonna work out for me.
yeah, the law of natural selection is going to weigh out at some point. Unless you guys take a math test, he might be dumb. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, okay. So we've touched on that angle, but I want to go back to something because I know this is kind of up your alley. So what do you think the average American gets wrong about gun ownership and their pursuit of it? Because you talked about 25 to 50 million new gun owners.
Oh.
What are they doing wrong? What are they going about wrong? And I guess the segue from that would be kind of where should they start?
Man, that's a tough one because
got him.
Fuck.
Stumped him.
Well, dude, honestly, just like the hand-to-hand stuff, like
Yeah.
there are a shit ton of people that are trainers in the firearms world, and there's like this many that actually know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I read that, which was kind of alarming to me.
Well, it's also my point on the book. It's really unfortunate though, because like with hand-to-hand stuff, like we can sort that out real quick. Like if I go to your brother's gym and I'm like, you guys are a bunch of fucking candy ass, and I know the magic fucking sauce, they're going to indulge me, right? They're going to be like, sweet, bro, show us the magic sauce.
Yeah.
And I'm either going to have the magic sauce or I'm not. And that's how it works. Well, with the gun shit, there's really no equivalent to that because a lot of the tackle guys poo-poo the competition guys. They're like, oh, that's just competition bullshit. And you're going to
see a lot of that on the interwebs.
Yeah. And that's fucking nonsense because, bullet place where you want it to go fast is a bullet place where you want it to go fast. There's some different things between like competitive and tactical shooting, but you should still be able to hang if you're a good shooter at either one. So the biggest thing is you got to get some training. You got to get it from somebody that actually knows what the fuck they're doing. And the only way to do that is like, you've really got to do your homework about, is this guy actually competent? Being better than you is not fucking helpful. Like if you're a new guy, you like, and this guy's like, well, he's way better than me. Like, well, yeah, no shit. Like he could have had the gun for 3 days. Like you don't know. Yeah. So, but finding that competency is difficult. And I don't remember if I put this in the book or not, but this is how I felt about it when I stepped out of, being in a mean ass fucking special forces direct action unit into the training world. It was like going from the UFC to the WWE. That's really how I felt about it. Because all of a sudden, it's fucking true though. Yeah. So people are showing up at my classes and they're like, "Well, you're kind of like fucking Chris Costa." I'm like, "No, bitch, I shot people to death. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, a fucking Magpul video. He's in the goddamn Coast Guard. He was a fucking janitor or something. Like, and it's the fucking truth." And then I start looking around at like 90% of the fucking chest thumping, like making cool guy rock videos and shit. Like these motherfuckers don't know shit. And it was a rude awakening, but it's still kind of that way. There's just not that many competent people that want to step into that arena for some reason.
Yeah, why is that? Is it a liability thing or?
I think a bigger issue is that you have to compete with that shit. It's actually insulting that I would have to say. One of my first clients actually came from, I'm at a 3-gun match down in Georgia. And like I said, I was a pro on the competitive circuit too. And this 3-gun match happened through the Task Force Dagger 3-gun match. So it's put on by Andy Horner, whose son is Daniel Horner, who's in the AMU. But Andy's been like a super respectful, like supporter of the military community forever. So he makes this like insanely difficult match, and it draws in like all these like, Dagger has a whole bunch of dudes there, retired veterans and, Ranger bad guys and shit. And so there was a whole bunch of us there, and we're sitting around the campfire and, talking about the old days of, shooting Hodge in the face or whatever. And somebody I'd never seen before. So we're kind of all the military guys like telling stories and shit. And like, I like look around and we have like an audience of people. And I'm like, oh, this is fucking weird and awkward. But I'm retired now, so fuck it, I can tell these stories.
Yeah.
It was like a fucking lull in the story, and somebody, it was actually his kid, is like, hey, you guys just talked about shooting all these people in their night vision goggles. We're gonna go to a Chris Costa night fighter course, and what do you think? And I was like, I gotta look over there. And everybody else is kind of like, and then he said it again. So now I have to say, I'm like, I tell you what, if you don't go to that fucking clown shoes fucking class, I'll fly out to wherever you live. You just pay for the plane ticket, and I'll teach you how to fucking fight with goggles on. And they were like, they'd never heard anything like that before. Like, did you just insult the God Emperor? Like, yeah, fuck that clown. And so I did. And they actually ended up paying me what they would have paid him, which was cool. But that was kind of how I got into it. But then, as I looked around, like at that piece, like, I'm going to have to do this every time. Like, I'm going to have to just skull drag these pretend fucking wannabe gunfighter dudes.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking pain in the ass, dude. It's just not really the way of our people. It's just not.
I think when you touched on that, because there's a few dudes we've come across when I was up in the northern Sacramento area, but just based on the area and the terrain, like airsoft's a big thing up there.
Yeah.
But these guys, they all look like they're about to go fucking kill bin Laden.
Oh yeah, dude, they got like,
but they don't want nothing to do with the military, which is weird to me. Like, that's what blows my mind. Like, right. I don't. So I was curious because I always, as I was reading, because you wrote about some of this in the book, I was just curious. Did anything ever come up in conversation? Like, so were you guys in the military at all, or why didn't you go down that path? Because I understand why you naturally transitioned into shooting, because you like it, you're good at it, you want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
But the counter of that is these guys who, for whatever reason, they don't take those skills into some real world application. You know what I mean? Like, so I was just like, how was that?
This is something that you may not have noticed, but you're from Orlando, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're from a bigger place, but still, like, if you go back to Orlando today, what percentage of your graduating class from high school would you say is still there?
Oh, a lot.
Massive.
Yeah.
Right, like 70%?
Yeah, probably maybe half, 50%. Okay. Yeah, enough that I look at them on Facebook. I'm like, you guys, you can leave.
Well, dude, I'm from a town of like 4,000 where people talk about nothing but getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah, right.
If I went back today, 60-70% still live there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
People are afraid of change. They really are. And believe it or not, just like that step to like go to the fucking army and get on the fucking bus and get off at Fort Jackson or whatever. Mm-hmm. That is a bigger step than you or I will probably ever give it credit for. And it's something that instantly disqualifies like 60% of the people on planet Earth.
That's a very good point. I think it's a very good point.
It's a weird one to think about, especially you've been in now for a while. Do you PCS all over the place, fucking whatever, fucking, the army tells you tomorrow that you're going to fucking Iceland, you're gonna be like, fucking throwing some sleeping bags. That's how it works. Yeah. That's not normal.
That is true. Yeah, but like, I think that was just so hard for me because it was just like, I think Nick always talks about is like, you guys are these cosplay or cosplay. Well, I don't even know how to pronounce that word, costume play, adult, whatever. It's like, you guys are cosplay in the military. And there's a part of me that's just like, why don't you go do this shit for fucking real? Use the skills. You're already really obviously good at it. So that's going to be a leg up for you. Maybe you're lacking something else. I think, I don't know.
Dude, think about it this way, man. Fucking, you're talking about the airsofters. Now, I have a lot of friends that are competitive shooters and a lot of, very good friends. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking like, champions, but how many of those dudes enlisted after 9/11?
Right. And that's the only reason I enlisted. So,
right. But 9/11 happened, like,
it went down. Right.
How many of them? I'm also not counting the Army Marksmanship Unit because that's fucking bullshit. It doesn't count. They don't, man. That shit doesn't. It's like being a fucking NASCAR driver for the Army. Like, they deploy long enough to get it doesn't count. How many of those guys like enlisted and like, I'm going to fucking Ranger Battalion and I'm going to apply these fucking skills to fucking shooting Hodge in the face? And to my knowledge, none.
Yeah, I think that's and that's what I'm kind of worried about at this point, man, because I mean, that was kind of that was the call for our generation for the most part. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the call to service. And I always know this. It's been taught to me by my grandfather, my dad, all my parents, all my parents, both of them. But anyway, it's usually every generation is going to get their test, right? And
Yep.
I'm seeing this. You know, I have a daughter who's 14; she'll be 15 soon. Um, this whole COVID shit is kind of, I think, this generation's "what are you going to do"
That's
moment.
fair.
And I
Yep.
don't know if this is their "what are you going to do" moment in terms of serving your country and joining the military, but I can't think of anything else that would be at this point because you know we're going on almost 20 years now of this thing with Afghanistan. You know, it's look, man, if I was going to go back to me and the moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to drop out of college and join the army. Do you really think I would be sitting here 20 years later, almost thinking like, yeah, we're still there, man? Like that's what's hard to me because we're not only recruiting individuals who were born after 9/11.
Mhm.
Dude, we're recruiting individuals who were born after the invasion into Iraq in 2003.
That's fucking staggering.
It
That
is.
makes
They
me
don't
feel
know what
really
the fuck
rough.
9/11 was. They don't know what Iraq was. Like, and this was the thing I used to always do, like with every news cycle, right? We would always do this in as a drill sergeant at Fort Benning. This was 2009, 2010. I would always go, hey, what happened on, March 19th, 2003? I don't know. Like it wasn't even that long ago, and they didn't know it was the invasion into Iraq. You know what I mean? So it's kind of staggering to me mentally to this day to just think of like, all right, what's the rallying, what's the easiest way to get these people to think like, hey, serve your country. Like, and the only thing I can come back to is this COVID thing, and that's its own set of challenges. But
Oh,
there's no mass terrorist attack to rally around. There's no
not today. There isn't.
Not today. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like these kids who are born that have no concept of
Oh,
9/11. Like,
I
what's
mean,
their
I mean, literally tomorrow, the fucking communist revolution in the goddamn streets.
could happen. Could. We're
It's
not there yet. We're not there yet. So, but let me hold on. So let me get back. What because this is I really enjoy talking to you because I feel like if we were in a bar, we'd just sit there and close it, and we probably would never talk about half the shit we were supposed to. But um, so yes, the average person who's like, man, I just need to go get a gun. What should they get? What would you recommend they learn on first? Because before you answer, let me preface it by saying this: I was never really brought up on guns as a kid
yep.
growing up. My dad always had them. I just never really shot anything until I was
Got
like a 17-year-old. I shot a shotgun, and then I
right.
went into the army and I learned how to shoot a rifle. And I'm pretty good with a rifle. I absolutely suck with a handgun. Still to this day, I don't own one. I suck with it. I own a rifle. I'm good with it. My brother's the opposite. Didn't go to the military. He can fight better than me, obviously. Don't want to fight him hand to hand, but I will shoot him with a rifle from a safe distance.
Damn
But
Skippy.
he owns
I'll
all
sip
his
the bourbon.
rifles. Yeah, he's not very good with a rifle, but he is great with a handgun
Wow.
because he's got both. Yeah, and
Yep.
I
That
just
makes sense. Yep.
like I can call my shot with a rifle.
Yep.
He can't
Yep.
do any of that shit, and he's mesmerized by it. I'm like, dude, you can hit a wall 5 feet in front of you with a handgun. I can't. I mean, that's my level of skill with a handgun. I'm horrible. So the average person who's like, shit, I got to go get a gun. What do they get? Where do they start? What do you think?
The biggest piece of this is going to be what do you think is going to happen next? Because a handgun has no place in the fucking combat zone. Like this shit might as well be a fucking ornament on your fucking desk. Like this shit's retarded. Like, but for the normal day-to-day citizen, like living in the normal piece of this country, you're much more likely to get in like a concealed carry confrontation than you are some kind of rifle sized fight where you're gonna, I don't know, be shooting 200 or 300 yards or have to shoot like fucking 25 people in a row. So it depends. If you think that we're going to have a communist revolt, go get a rifle and learn on that. And it's going to be an AR-15 if you can still find one. If you live in California, it's going to be, a Mosin Nagant, whatever. Whatever you people
hit that Connex at the Oakland port.
Right, exactly. But for most people, it's going to be a handgun. And you could even slip a shotgun in there as like the home defender if I was like really anything you want to do. But the biggest thing that I want people to do before they go buy one is you've got to have friends that have guns. Or if you don't, go to the rental counter. Spend like $300 at the rental counter renting different guns, because there's so much hype and bullshit that goes around buying a weapon that you can buy something that's completely unsuited for you and maybe a completely overpriced piece of shit. And you're not going to know that for 6 months. And then you're going to find out and be like, oh, this is dumb. And then you're never going to get the resale value out of it unless it's 2020. And it's just going to be a bad day out.
Yeah.
So if you got friends with guns, go shoot them, buy them some bullets, buy them 1,000 rounds of whatever, and shoot the damn thing. Because, you know, guns also fit differently too. Like we live in a golden age of weapons where everything is pretty good, but just because something fits my hands well doesn't mean it's going to fit yours. And that's why there's different brands. That's why there's like, you know, 9 different brands of pistols that are all high quality stuff. That's not even that unreasonably priced, like, you know, $500-600.
So that's, I think that's a good point, because someone just recently hit us up over the weekend and was asking a very, I mean, it was great questions on a specific handgun. I think a caliber difference between a 9 and a 40. And I'm just like, I don't know, but I know people who do know. So let me ask them. And I think the main suggestion I think they were coming back with was like, you need to shoot whatever before you buy something, shoot it, rent it, you know, do what you kind of just said. Like, don't just buy something, you know. Yeah, because I think it's kind of like any other purchase. You just go to a car lot and buy something without ever, you know, right? I mean, very similar. But I also think that's kind of what most people, especially out here, the trouble they're running into is they don't have those options. But she was fortunate she did, because she's actually in the state and she was able to do that. But yeah, like I got a gun store literally 3 blocks away, man. I can walk to it and there's nothing. And the dude is fortunately very nice and cordial with me, because he used to be he's a vet. But he's just honest. He's like, ain't gonna be for a while, man. There's just nothing. Like the only thing there is like random, like lever. I don't know what those fucking rifles are. Yeah. Well, the little, not like, it's not even a Henry. It's like some random knockoff Henry. And just odd calibers where there's no bullets. It's just,
35 Wheelans and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And the only handguns there are revolvers, which I hear are pretty cool. I've never really shot one.
They take a little bit more skill to master because the triggers are weirder, but they are uber reliable. I mean, and you can learn to run them extremely fast too. I mean, you'd be shocked by how fast you can run one once you've trained on it a little bit.
Yeah, and then what's funny is you mentioned that Tika, that hunting rifle, because that's something Braxton mentioned, something to look into to getting, and man, it's just it's this state. It's just fucking, there's nothing, man. It's just not like everything I've seen. I'd have to like, at the minimum, drive to Arizona.
Right.
Which whoever's listening to this in the state of California who is sending this to Governor Newsom, I'm not going to bring anything into your state. Relax.
I would buy it and leave it in Arizona, obviously.
Yeah, I'm going to get it and I'm going to leave it.
Deposit box in Arizona.
Yeah, and then I'm going to make sure I have at least, I don't know, 100 gallons of fuel. So I can drive down there and retrieve it before someone in their group goes and opens up my random supplies security deposit box and fetches all my rifles.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where we're at on that thing, man. Okay. The other thing, real quick, to tie into your book, you mentioned this, and I thought this was a really good thing, because you're talking about surviving it in essentially an urban environment, and you talk about building your network, right? Building a list of, or just building a group of people that you can trust, you know, regardless of whatever, you know, aligns you, just having that network as you describe it. And you describe, you know, hey, the one way to go do this is you got to go talk to people.
Yeah.
And I think most people, and I think even us at this age, I think us, since we're similar age, I think even us, we're starting to suffer from this, but most of the younger generation for sure is they don't want to talk to people. They'd rather text them.
Right.
Right. And that's a hard issue, especially when I think you describe it in there. If you didn't, it's pretty obvious. Hey, what happens when the fucking power goes out and you can't charge your phones, or the network's down? You know, that's going to happen.
Right.
And you have, we're raising this generation with no social skills.
Well, and, you know, for the survival thing too, you know, what if my network was you and, well, I can't be Braxton because he's actually right next door.
Yeah, but say you got, at least you got him there. You guys are the best state to be in at this point.
Yeah, hell yeah. But like you and 3 other dudes that, you know, are we really going to help each other in a crisis? You're like 19 hours away by car.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't work that way. And that's the biggest problem with like, internet boys and shit is like, it's not going to help you in the immediate crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that was actually the number one fallacy I wanted to dispel, is that, you're just going to Rambo through this shit and do it all yourself. Like, I mean, literally my fucking resume says I am Rambo, and I'm not going to fucking do it by myself. It's a fucking action movie, dude. Real life doesn't work that way. Like, not even a little bit. I mean, even amongst like SF guys and shit, we say that we become more dangerous exponentially the more of us that there are. One guy might have some good training and might be able to whiz bang it, but yeah, there's a limit to that. 2, yeah. Oh fuck, man. 3, 4, like, oh fuck, now we can do some shit.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how everybody else should be thinking too. Like, you can't, man. You can't watch your back all the time. You got to sleep sometime. There's shit that you don't know how to do. There's shit that I don't know how to do. You need all the brains you can get. You need other people that can think about shit, that have skills, that have supplies. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to like really like meet fucking people. And if you live in an urban, people live in your building that maybe you don't even like them. Maybe you have like completely opposed ideologies and shit, but you can still band together for common defense. Like, hey, if they try to burn the fucking building down, let's you and me not let them.
Right. Well, see, and that's what I wanted to hit you on, because not hit you on it, but just kind of get your take on it. You say you wrote about in the book, like avoiding high paced or high trafficked environments in terms of, getting, I don't know if it was a source you're trying to get, or just someone who can work with you. So avoid the Starbucks because they're high trafficked. So, right. But so for a city, I get, that's a great point that you brought up. Your neighbor, someone you hang out with at the pool, or you see at the pool, maybe you don't like them, but you talk to them. Yeah, those are people, right? But what does someone do in a major city like that, where most of the areas they're around on a daily basis are nothing but high traffic? They're on a train, they're standing, you know what I mean? Like, so where would you suggest they start this process?
Well, there's always a time when things slow down. But it could be, Uber. You take an Uber everywhere. Like, you talk to that, just like you do a cab driver, man. I mean, that's a good resource to have. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Some of the other stuff, like I bring up there, like, UPS driver as a fantastic resource. That's a little bit harder to get in a place. Yeah. Cause like, if you're in downtown Los Angeles, like, the UPS driver's not stopping for shit. He's like throwing the thing off the truck by 10 miles an hour. I get it.
Especially now. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Especially holiday coming up too. Like, this is not the time to be trying to recruit the FedEx guy either. January, it'd be fine. Now, not so much. But, the biggest reason that was in there is that you just have to think about it. And it's so situation unique that you just have to look for somewhere that's going to work out for you. That's also one of the reasons I brought up, like, dudes like your brother's gym. That'd be a perfect bunch of people to to grab. Yeah. And they probably have some downtime at the end of that too, and they're all, fucking tired and fucking sitting around hanging out, waiting to be unsweaty enough to get back in a fucking car. But you just have to find a way to do it, man, and look for the places where life does slow down.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I think you brought up a good point there, because like, I'm a CrossFit nerd, right? I've been doing this shit forever, but that's where I've met most of my, that's not where that's where I've met every one of my friends in this state of California since I've moved out here 4 years ago, has come from a CrossFit gym. But I think that's what you talk about though. Like, there's that downtime, or there's the downtime either before or after the workout. But I think that's what the best part about CrossFit, and not any other gym. I'm not talking about like martial arts gym, but a conventional gym. Conventional gym, I did that shit for years. You go to the gym, everyone's got their fucking headphones on. Nobody talks to each other. Mm-hmm. CrossFit gym, MMA gym, or any type of martial arts gym, you have to communicate. You have to talk to each other, and you do. You get to learn, and you learn about each other, and you learn what people's backgrounds are. And that's what's been the coolest thing about me with CrossFit is, man, like I said, every one of my friends out here and some of my best friends back in Florida are from that. And every one of their backgrounds is completely different from mine. Like, these are people I would never interact or cross with if I didn't go to that gym and work out at that hour.
100%, dude. Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fucking totally right. It's one of the greatest things about being in the cult of CrossFit, dude. You guys all drink the Kool-Aid together, and
we're going to talk about. So what are you doing tomorrow? You want to come to my gym, bro? What's up? You want to drop in? Yeah, but you know what? It's actually crazy that you mentioned that, because it's a gym in the Bay Area, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a CrossFit thing in general, because I know there are plenty of, the different oppositions of the political spectrum from me, but for whatever reason, even though, and I don't know if it ties back into what you're saying, like, cause I've picked up on some of them that are definitely a little left leaning just from growing up,
Yeah.
probably, but every one of these fuckers owns guns.
Yep.
Like that's kind of before I eventually, I'm going to get you out of here in a little bit, man, but I keep forgetting to ask, but now I want to ask it, that 25 to 50 million new gun owners, is there any way to tie like where you think, like where they're at on the spectrum? Like, is it more of a conservative thing? Is it more of a liberal thing? Is it very evenly distributed or what?
It's all over the fucking map. In fact, I would say probably most of the new ones are on the left side, but they're not like the crazy out in the streets they were more like the center left.
Okay, those are fine. Those are still that. I think that's the average American still, like,
right. Me too. Right? But like a year ago, they were like, "Oh, guns are bad. We should ban those, except for hunting rifles, and Grandpa can still have that." And then like, the fucking
take my hunting rifle.
And they're like, "I want an M60. I want a fucking mortar. I want, And they find out you can't. That's been the funniest part is knowing a bunch of people that work at gun stores. All these people on the left finding out that they can't walk into a store and buy a gun, and
blows their mind.
Yeah, it's like, hey, fucker, you voted for this shit. Like, I can't because I've got a concealed carry license. I live in a free state, but not so much.
Yeah, that girl I brought up earlier, she sent that message earlier today saying she was going to get that one of the guns that they suggested after all. 10-day wait period.
Yeah. Turns out you cannot order it on the internet.
Yeah.
You cannot go to Amazon.com and have a firearm delivered to your house.
How great would that be? Like a drone delivers a firearm right at your front door.
Fucking totally sweet.
That'd be a free Bezos. Where are you? Elon Musk, SpaceX, make this happen. We're worrying about landing on Mars. Deliver us guns to our door. God. Speaking of great things like Amazon, here's my thing, man. Like, I just saw like this one dude. He's like a Berkeley professor, and he was bitching about Jeff Bezos and Amazon's customer service and all. And he made up this story about how he ordered something for his wife and it never showed up, and he couldn't get any response or refund. And I was like, that's bullshit, because I've done Amazon's customer service real quick, but over the weekend, I had an opportunity to put this back into practice. I ordered two things. One of them happened to be, my girl got me some Apple AirPods, right? Those little
nice. Yep.
They were supposedly in a package that came with two things in it. I got the first thing. I may or may not have got the pods and may have thrown the box away. So Amazon's customer service, I don't know if you've ever used it. It's literally, it's all like pre-scripted responses. And it took 4 clicks to get a new pair of AirPods that weren't charged to me, sent to me. I have them now. 4 clicks. Didn't arrive. Yes, I want a replacement. No, I don't want to report. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then totally like this dude over in fucking Berkeley has got his 180,000 followers pretending like, Amazon's this evil corporation that just steals your money. And I'm like, actually their customer service is pretty fucking legendary. Here, let me prove it again. And if this was the one time I was like, man, it's AirPods. That's like 150. They're not going to give me that. They're going to make, no, he's just like, no, here you go. Here's some more. 2 days later, they were back.
Exactly.
I need that with the fucking AR-15.
Right.
My AR-15 did not arrive.
It had this bullet button and a weird stock on it.
Yeah. I need another one. And that 1,000 rounds I ordered didn't get here either. I don't know why. Oh, no problem. We'll ship another 1,000. That's what I'm really hoping. Honestly, I'm making jokes of it, but I'm hoping something with the supply chain that Amazon possesses can get into this industry. And I don't know if you agree or disagree, but imagine what those fuckers could do with their resources in that market. The shit that you described, like there's a company making 6 million rounds a day. That's clearly not enough.
Let's make 6 billion rounds a day.
Yes.
Yes.
And environmentally friendly rounds too. Like no more.
Why not?
Yeah, let's something. That's what I want. That's what I want Amazon and the Elon Musk of the world. We don't need to go to Mars. We need to fix the fucking ammunition and gun shortage in this country. Focus
Don't
on
tell
the
Elon Musk that, dude. He'll make a fucking plasma rifle or some shit. Like, it doesn't need bullets. Like, God damn it.
You might be right, dude. I just finally so my buddy's got a Tesla at the office, and I've never been in it, but we went and Ubered to this Halloween party on Friday, and it was a Tesla driver. And the irony of that, I was just like,
really?
all right, whatever. Now, to be fair, he said he lost his job because where he was working burned down in the fires out here in Napa. So I am sensitive to that, but I just thought that was ironic. Like, all right, I'm taking a Tesla to this Halloween party. But yeah, I'm just like, the dude steps on the gas and we're going 60 in like a second. I'm like, we need to focus, use this ingenuity and intuition to fix that problem. I want a Tesla gun. That's what I want. A Tesla rifle. I want Tesla rounds because they're doing something right. Now, I don't know what happens when the power goes out because you can't charge that shit anymore. But I even asked him that. He's like, oh, I might use my dad's generator. And then that's funny. I'd have to get gas to charge electricity. I'm like, yeah, that's what you'd have to do. It's a fucking battery. It's like it's a golf cart.
No shit. But they do haul ass. They do haul ass though.
They do. No, they're fast as shit and they're super nice. And the back seat was amazing. So there's that. Let me see if there's anything I didn't touch on with you, Clay, because I do appreciate you. Yes. All right. We've touched on everything. I appreciate you spending your time with me. Again, this is Clay Martin. He's written this book, The Concrete Jungle, A Green Beret's Guide to Urban Survivor. He's got Prairie Fire out now that you can go order. But before we get out of here, I said this before we started recording, man, in 24 hours, where are we sitting? Who's winning? Who's taken to the streets? What do you think? What do you think happens?
Ooh. Oh man, I think this is going to be fucking terrible. I think Trump wins tomorrow night in a landslide.
Oh,
Biden wins Friday night in a landslide of newfound votes. Monday morning, civil war starts.
Damn, that is not how I want this to go.
Me neither, but I call him like I see him.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off because I'm going to definitely, I don't know what I'm going to drink tomorrow night. Probably going to be a lot of it, but I'm going to be in this chair observing around this time. So funny story, if you don't know, I don't know how your 2016 was spent. I moved out here October 11th of 2016 to the state of
no
California.
fucking way.
So I didn't know anybody. I didn't know shit. I was still trying to figure out where I was. So there's Thunder Valley Casino in Placer County in Lincoln, California. Great place. Look it up. Gun stores everywhere. So I was like, election night, I don't know what I'm going to do. Lincoln, Thunder Valley Casino was 5 minutes down the road. I'll go there. I went to the bar, I'm drinking my $4 beer. I'm like, this is amazing. And all of a sudden I'm just watching this election coverage in a casino. And all of a sudden shit started to get real. Like they started calling, the Midwest states, and everybody just stops gambling. Like it was actually a really nice casino. It's pretty big too. It's fairly, and everyone just starts like gathering and coalescing around this center bar. And I'm just sitting there like, this is great. I'm about to watch this meltdown. And sure enough, man, once 9 p.m. hit and they started calling things, and I'm just like, here we go. And that turned into one of the most memorable nights of my life, mainly because of everything I witnessed around me. I have not seen that many adults cry since 9/11, dude. Like it was.
Oh shit, that's insane.
It was bad.
God,
and I'm just sitting there at the bar like, loving it. I'm not saying shit. Nobody knows who I am. I'm not going to draw attention to myself, right?
Right.
That was not the place to build a network.
No.
But yeah, so I don't know. I honestly, I mean, to wrap this up and get us out of here, I think, unfortunately, I've said this multiple times before. I'll say it again. I think whatever happens, I think the reaction will be the same, one way or the other.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right this time. Like, I don't think this is going to go good. I think things are about to be real poopy.
But if you're listening to this and you want to get on the Goon Zoom on Wednesday, we're going to have a little sounding board for you because I'm sure people are going to want to speak one way or the other. So,
hell yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But Clay, you got to join us one of those nights, man. That'd be
hell yeah, man.
But anyway, I do appreciate you stopping in and spending your night with me. At least you're on this side of the country. I haven't kept you up too late. 7:40. What else?
Yeah, I was amazed you weren't on the East Coast. I was here like 3 hours early, like a dumbass. Like, okay.
I wasn't going to say that, but hey, keep in mind, remember, Green Berets are the real best and brightest of us. And
it wasn't given to me in Zulu time. It's not my fault.
So please, if you're watching this and you made it to this point, even if you haven't, and you eventually get to this point, go buy Clay's books. Multiple or plural. Clay Martin on Amazon. Do you have a website that you sell these on, or just
purely on Amazon?
Purely on Amazon, and then you do write for some gun stuff. Is any of that?
Yeah, right after gunsamerica.com. I do gun reviews every week.
Yep. He just did one for some crazy looking 22 that looks like a fucking 50 cal or some shit. That's pretty.
Brigera 14R.
It's a hell of a way to kill a fucking rat.
Hell yeah.
Take on the prone, shoot that fucking rat. Wait for him to show himself. Looks good though. But again, Clay Martin, everyone. Again, remember, please like and subscribe. There will be bourbon. We'll see you on Wednesday night. Actually, we won't because we don't record this, but we will see you Thursday night for There Will Be Banter episode 9. The retired CIA spook Ron Moeller returns
Nice.
shooting peasants, whatever he was doing up there. And
Probably both, actually.
yeah, probably, that's what I said. He probably was doing both. But so we'll see you then on Thursday. But again, thanks to Clay, and we'll see you then. Airborne, first to go, last to know.